My son, who died, he was bullied. He was bullied very heavily right up until the time that he committed suicide because of his sobriety.
A little 3-year-old girl standing under blazing hot lights, holding a microphone that's almost as big as she is. While other kids her age are playing with toys and taking naps, she's already working like an adult. This little girl would grow up to become one of America's most beloved entertainers, but behind her famous smile was a story so heartbreaking that it would make you cry. This is the story of Marie Osmond. If you think you know her just as the sweet singer from TV, you're about to discover a truth that will shock you. Marie's life has been filled with more pain than most people could handle, yet somehow she kept smiling for the world while her heart was breaking inside. Today, we're going to tell you the real story of Marie Osmond. A story about a woman who lost her childhood, battled with her own mind, and faced losses so terrible that they almost destroyed her. But it's also a story about incredible strength and the power to keep going when everything seems hopeless. If Marie Osmond has ever brought joy to your life, please hit that like button. It's a small way to honor someone who gave so much to the world while asking for so little in return. Marie Osmond was born in 1959 as the only daughter in a family of 9 children. But her childhood ended before it really began. When she was just 3 years old, her parents put her on stage. While other little girls were learning to tie their shoes, Marie was learning song lyrics and dance moves. Her family wasn't just any family. The Osmonds were becoming famous, and everyone had to work hard to keep that fame going. Marie's parents were very religious and believed that success meant sacrifice. They told their children that playing and having fun wasn't important. What mattered was being perfect on stage. Marie later said that she felt more like a product being sold than a real child. Can you imagine being 3 years old and feeling that way? While kids her age were finger painting and playing hide and seek, Marie was memorizing scripts and practicing for hours every day. When Marie was 11, something terrible happened that shows just how little her childhood mattered to the adults around her. She was sent to Japan to film a commercial. During the trip, the boat she was on capsized in the ocean. Marie found herself floating in shark-filled water, badly burned by the sun and barely alive. You'd think that after such a scary experience, she would be allowed to rest and heal. But no. As soon as she was rescued, she was rushed back to the recording studio. Her burns were still fresh, her body was still weak, but she was told to smile and sing anyway. I was covered in burns, she remembered years later, and still, I was told to smile and sing. This wasn't just cruel, it was a sign of what Marie's entire life would be like. Her pain didn't matter, her feelings didn't count. Only her performance mattered to the people who were supposed to protect her. Even as a child, Marie learned to hide her true feelings. She became an expert at smiling when she was hurting inside. This skill would help her survive, but it would also make her life much harder as she grew up. As Marie got older, the pressure to be perfect only got worse. When she was 15, she became the star of the Donnie and Marie show with her brother. Millions of people watched her on TV every week. To them, she looked like she had everything a teenager could want. But behind the cameras, Marie was fighting a battle that almost killed her. She was surrounded by some of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, and she felt like she didn't belong. The people in charge of the show made everything worse when they told her she needed to lose weight, or they might cancel the show. Here's the shocking part. Marie only weighed 103 pounds at the time. For most people, that would already be too thin, but the TV executives wanted her to lose 10 more pounds. Marie was so scared of losing her job that she agreed to do it. She began starving herself, drinking only a mixture of lemon juice, hot pepper, and maple syrup. This wasn't a healthy diet. It was basically torture. She would go days without eating real food, just so she could fit into the costumes on TV. Marie's weight dropped to just 93 pounds. She was so thin that she looked sick, but everyone told her she looked great. This started a dangerous pattern that would control her life for years. She developed both anorexia, where she wouldn't eat enough, and bulimia, where she would eat and then make herself throw up. They called me an embarrassment at 103 pounds, Marie said years later. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to feel. It was the only way I could take back control. But Marie wasn't just dealing with pressure about her weight. During this time, she also revealed that she had been physically abused as a child. She was too young to understand what was happening to her and too scared to tell anyone about it. All of this pain was building up inside Marie, but she kept performing. Every time the audience clapped for her, it came at the cost of her own happiness and health. She was giving everything to make other people happy while slowly destroying herself. The saddest part is that Marie thought this was normal. She had been taught from such a young age that her own needs didn't matter. Her job was to make other people happy, no matter how much it hurt her. While Marie was becoming famous, she was also looking for love. Like many young women, she dreamed of finding someone who would truly care about her and make her feel valued for who she really was, not just for her fame. Marie dated several famous men during her young adult years. She had a crush on Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers, a sweet man with a beautiful voice. She also dated Andy Gibb, who was struggling with his own problems with drugs and fame. She remembered him as having the kindest heart and wished the world had been kinder to him. She also dated David Cassidy, another teen idol. From the outside, they seemed perfect together. Both were young, beautiful, and famous. But their lives were moving so fast and in such different directions that they couldn't find a way to make it work. In 1982, when Marie was 22, she married Steve Craig. Steve wasn't an entertainer like her. He was a former basketball player, and Marie hoped he could give her a normal, quiet life away from all the craziness of show business. They had a son together, and for a while Marie thought she had finally found happiness. But the fairy tale didn't last. Just 3 years later, in 1985, Marie and Steve got divorced. Marie was heartbroken. She felt like she had failed, not just as a wife, but as a mother, too. The fact that their breakup was talked about in all the newspapers made it even harder. Just 1 year after her divorce, Marie married again. This time it was to Brian Blosil, and they would stay married for 21 years. Together, they raised 8 children from both of their previous relationships. From the outside, it looked like Marie had finally found the big, happy family she always wanted. But even this marriage had problems. Marie rarely talked about it publicly, but when she did, you could hear the sadness in her voice. "I was tired of pretending everything was okay," she said. It wasn't. Raising 8 children while trying to keep her career going was exhausting. The marriage slowly fell apart, and in 2007, Marie and Brian divorced. After 21 years of trying to make it work, Marie was single again, and her heart was broken once more. Each time a relationship ended, Marie felt like she was failing at something that should have come naturally. She was so good at making other people happy through her performances, but she couldn't seem to find lasting happiness in her own personal life. What Marie didn't know was that her biggest challenge as a mother was still ahead of her. After Marie's second divorce, she found herself dealing with something that millions of women face but rarely talk about openly: severe depression after having a baby. In 1999, after giving birth to her son Matthew, Marie's world turned dark. This wasn't just feeling a little sad after having a baby, which is normal. This was much more serious. Marie couldn't function normally. Her body ached all the time. She couldn't move her arms properly, and her thoughts scared her. The depression got so bad that one day, Marie did something that shocked everyone who knew her. She walked out of her house, leaving her children with a babysitter, got in her car, and drove away. She drove for days, not knowing where she was going or if she would ever come back. "I couldn't function," Marie explained years later. "My body ached, my arms wouldn't move, and my thoughts terrified me." When she finally returned home, a doctor confirmed what she already knew deep down. She was suffering from clinical depression, a real medical condition that affects the brain. This wasn't Marie's first time dealing with mental health problems, but it was one of the worst. During an interview with Oprah Winfrey, she admitted that there were times when she thought about ending her own life. "There were moments when I was driving and thought, would anyone really miss me? That's how depression speaks to you. It lies." Making things worse, the newspapers started printing rumors about Marie. In 2006, stories came out saying that she had tried to hurt herself and was in the hospital. Her publicist had to explain that this wasn't true. Marie had just had a bad reaction to some medicine that made her faint. But the damage was done. People were talking about her personal struggles in a way that made everything harder. Instead of getting angry at the media, Marie chose to do something brave. She started talking openly about her depression, hoping to help other mothers who were suffering in silence. She wanted them to know they weren't alone and that it was okay to ask for help. In 2007, while competing on the TV show Dancing with the Stars, Marie collapsed right on live television. Millions of people watched as she fainted after finishing a dance. Paramedics had to come help her, but Marie recovered quickly and even made a joke about it. "I guess I just danced myself into the floor," she said. But this incident showed everyone how hard Marie was pushing herself. She was trying to do too much while dealing with serious emotional pain. Through all of this, the most important thing in Marie's life remained her children. Being a mother was hard, especially while battling depression, but it was also what kept her going. Motherhood is not for the faint of heart, she said. It breaks you down, but it also rebuilds you in ways you never imagined. Marie's openness about her mental health struggles helped many people. She showed that even successful most people can struggle with depression, and that getting help is not something to be ashamed of. But Marie's biggest test as a mother was still coming, and it would be more devastating than anything she had faced before. February 2010 started like any other month for Marie. She was preparing for a live show with her brother Donnie, focused on giving their audience a great performance. But then, her phone rang with a missed call from her 18-year-old son, Michael. She was busy and didn't call him back right away. That decision would haunt her for the rest of her life because she would never get to hear his voice again. The next call Marie received wasn't from Michael. It was from the coroner's office. Michael had fallen from the 8th floor of his apartment building in Los Angeles. The official cause of death was multiple injuries from the fall. There were no drugs or alcohol involved, just a young man who couldn't handle his pain anymore. For any mother, losing a child is the worst thing that could ever happen. But for Marie, who had already been through so much, this loss almost destroyed her completely. Marie later found a note that Michael had written. In it, he explained that he had been bullied and felt hopeless. He had promised his mother that he would never hurt himself, but the pain became too much for him to bear. He had made that promise to me that he would never do it, Marie said later, her voice shaking. But he was so bullied, he didn't tell me, and because I didn't know, I couldn't help. The guilt was almost unbearable. As a mother of 8 children, Marie had worked hard to protect all of them, but this was the kind of pain that no parent should ever have to face. For days after Michael's death, Marie couldn't eat or sleep. The world seemed to blur into a haze of sadness, but just a few days later, she did something that showed incredible strength. She went back on stage and performed. The only reason I went back to work, she explained, was so I wouldn't sit in a room and cry all day. The strength it took to smile and sing while her heart was completely broken is something that's hard to imagine. But Marie knew that if she stopped moving, the grief might swallow her completely. During an interview with Oprah that same year, Marie admitted that she had dark thoughts after losing Michael. There were times I'd drive my car and think about it, and then I'd say, "Whoa, Marie, that's ridiculous." But I have to admit, I had those thoughts. In 2018, she explained her feelings more clearly. The truth is, when you're that low, you just want the pain to stop. It wasn't about dying, it was about ending the pain. This is something that many people who have lost loved ones understand. The grief can be so overwhelming that you just want it to stop hurting. After Michael's death, Marie made a choice that would honor her son's memory. Instead of hiding from the pain, she decided to speak out about mental health, bullying, and the importance of communication between parents and children. She appeared on TV shows and worked with organizations to raise awareness about these issues. Her voice, which had once been known for singing sweet songs, now carried the weight of a mother's advocacy for other families. In 2022, during her show in Las Vegas, Marie dedicated a song to Michael. Her voice broke in the middle of the performance, and the audience stood up in respectful silence. It wasn't just entertainment anymore. It was a sacred moment of remembrance. Even today, more than 10 years after Michael's death, Marie still thinks about him every day. 13 years, and not a day goes by that I don't think of him, she posted on social media. Grief doesn't disappear, you just learn to carry it differently. The pain of losing Michael never went away, but it changed Marie in important ways. It made her more compassionate and gave her a deeper understanding of other people's pain. Through her loss, she became someone who could truly help others who were suffering. Michael's life was short, but through Marie's advocacy work, his memory continues to help save other young lives. That's a legacy any mother could be proud of. Just when you might think Marie had suffered enough loss for one lifetime, life continued to test her strength in ways that seemed almost cruel. In 2004, Marie lost her mother, Olive Osmond. Olive wasn't just Marie's mom, she was her best friend and the person who had always been there for her through everything. When Olive died, Marie felt like she had lost her compass, the person who had always helped guide her through difficult times. Only 3 years later, in 2007, Marie's father, George, also passed away. Both of her parents were gone, and suddenly Marie felt like a lost child again, even though she was an adult with children of her own. But the losses didn't stop there. In 2018, Marie's family faced another tragedy when one of her grandchildren died suddenly. Though she kept the details private out of respect for her family, Marie's pain was visible to anyone who knew her. Then, in 2022, something happened that broke Marie's heart in a new way. Her daughter Jessica's husband, Chris, was killed in an act of street violence. As a mother, watching her own child go through the devastating loss of a spouse, Marie felt a helplessness that was almost unbearable. Around the same time, Marie's older brother, Verl, suffered a severe stroke. Verl had been one of the original Osmond brothers and had been part of their family's musical success for decades. Seeing him suddenly so sick was another painful reminder of how fragile life can be. But perhaps the most devastating blow came in early 2025 when Marie lost her brother Wayne. Wayne wasn't just her sibling, he had been her co-performer, her confidant, and someone who had shared in both the joys and struggles of their unusual life in the spotlight. When Wayne passed away at age 73 after suffering a stroke, Marie described it as another giant hole in my heart. For fans who had followed the Osmond family for decades, Wayne's death felt like the end of an era. Each of these losses wasn't just personal for Marie, they represented pieces of her history, her childhood, and her family's legacy slowly disappearing. And Marie, as one of the most public members of the family, had to balance her private grief with her public responsibilities. Through all of this heartbreak, Marie never stopped showing up for her fans, her remaining family, and her work. Her continued presence wasn't about vanity or money, it was about survival and honoring the memory of those she had lost. People who knew Marie could see how these losses changed her. The bubbly teenager from the 1970s had become a woman of quiet strength. Her performances now carried a deeper meaning. She wasn't just entertaining people anymore. She was sharing a lifetime of experience, both joyful and painful. "We all carry something," Marie said in a 2023 interview. "But I've learned that the heart can stretch farther than you think. It breaks, it bleeds, but it also holds space for healing." These weren't just pretty words. They came from a woman who had lived through more loss than most people could imagine, yet still chose to believe in the power of love and family. Now, at 65 years old, Marie Osmond lives a very different life than she did during her years of fame. She has found peace in her beautiful home in St. George, Utah, where she's lived since 1999. Her 10,000-square-foot house isn't just a mansion. It's a sanctuary where she has rebuilt her life with intention and love. The house has a swimming pool, a tennis court, and even a professional recording studio, showing that music is still an important part of Marie's life. But what makes the home special isn't its size or expensive features. It's the love and memories that fill every room. Marie designed the interior herself, not to show off her wealth, but to preserve memories of her family and her past. Each room tells a story of her journey. Living in the peaceful desert landscape has given Marie the slower pace of life she never had as a child. She takes long walks, rides bikes with her grandchildren, and enjoys the simple pleasures that were denied to her when she was young. "Being a grandma is the best role I've ever had," she says, and you can hear the genuine joy in her voice. Her commitment to staying healthy isn't about vanity. It's about having the energy to keep up with her grandchildren and to be present for all the people she loves. Over the years, people have speculated about whether Marie has had cosmetic surgery. She's always been honest about it, saying, "I just want to feel my best, but the lines on my face, they're the roads I've traveled." She's comfortable with who she is and what she's been through. But perhaps the most surprising part of Marie's later life is her love story. In 2011, she did something that shocked many people. She remarried Steve Craig, her first husband, from the 1980s. Steve and Marie had divorced in 1985 after only 3 years of marriage. They were both young then, and life had taken them in different directions. But after decades apart, during which they both experienced other relationships and personal growth, they found their way back to each other. When they decided to remarry, they chose a date that was deeply meaningful. May 4th, which was the birthday of both Marie's beloved mother, Olive, and her late son, Michael. "It was my way of including them," Marie explained, "of making them part of our happiness." This second marriage isn't about grand romantic gestures or public displays of affection. It's built on something much deeper: shared history, mutual respect, and the wisdom that comes from having lived through both joy and heartbreak. We don't need the world to validate us anymore, Marie says about their relationship. We just want peace and love, and we found it. Together, Steve and Marie travel, create new memories, and live each day with the appreciation that only comes from understanding how precious and fragile life can be. Recently, Marie made headlines for a decision that surprised many people. She announced that she won't be leaving her estimated $20 million fortune to her children when she dies. "I'm not passing on my wealth," she said firmly. "My kids need to learn to work. If you hand them everything, they get lazy." Many people criticized Marie for this decision, calling her cold or uncaring. But Marie stood by her choice. "I love my children enough to not make them weak," she explained. "I've seen too many rich kids lose their way because they never had to struggle. I want mine to know the joy of earning something." This decision comes from Marie's deep beliefs about hard work and self-reliance. Having grown up in a family where everyone worked hard from childhood, she understands the value of purpose and earning your own way. Her children aren't being abandoned. Marie remains an active, loving presence in their lives, but she has chosen to give them something she believes is more valuable than money: the ability to stand on their own and the satisfaction that comes from personal achievement. So what is Marie Osmond today? After all these decades of fame, heartbreak, and healing, she's become a symbol not of perfection, but of perseverance. She still performs, not for fame or money, but because music is the language of her soul. She still gives interviews and shares her story, not for attention, but because she knows her experiences might help someone else feel less alone. In the quiet of her Utah home, she still lights a candle for Michael, still sings his favorite songs, and still carries his memory with her every day. "I pray when I can't stand," she once told a friend. "I cry when I must, but most days I just choose to love a little more." Marie Osmond doesn't need to prove anything to anyone anymore. She has suffered more than most people, and yet she has chosen to rise again and again. Her life isn't a fairy tale with a perfect ending. Instead, it's a testament to the fact that even when faced with unimaginable loss, love can endure. Even when everything seems to crumble around you, you can still build something beautiful. Maybe that's Marie's true gift to the world. Not her voice, not her fame, but the example she sets by the way she lives. She shows us that it's possible to be quietly powerful, deeply human, and unforgettably real. Her greatest legacy isn't the money she won't leave behind. It's the example of strength, faith, and love that she demonstrates every single day. Marie Osmond's story reminds us that behind every smile, there might be pain we can't see. Behind every success, there might be struggles we can't imagine. But it also shows us that the human spirit is capable of incredible resilience, and that choosing love over bitterness, hope over despair is always possible. As we wrap up this incredible journey through Marie Osmond's life, we want to hear from you. Has Marie's story touched your heart the way it has touched ours? Maybe you've faced similar challenges, found love again after loss, or discovered strength you didn't know you had. Please share your thoughts, your memories, or even your prayers in the comments below. Your voice matters, and your story could be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this tribute to Marie Osmond moved you, please show your support by hitting that like button. It's a simple way to honor a woman who has given so much to the world while asking for very little in return. Don't forget to share this video with others who might need to hear Marie's story of survival and strength. And if you want to see more stories about the real lives behind famous faces, make sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell. Together, we can keep these important stories alive and remind each other that no matter what we're going through, we're never truly alone. Thank you for watching, and remember, like Marie Osmond has shown us, there's always hope. Even in our darkest moments,